Hello everybody, this is One Up Wolves, I'm Tom.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Reese. As regular gamers, we have a select few games that we think stand above the rest.
From retro to new release and from cartoon to realistic.
We all have our own opinions on games.
So rather than showing you a selection of games that we agree are the best, we have each selected our personal favourites.
And without further ado, here is our top 3 personal favourites.
The first game on my list, and at third place, is the latest Halo game, Halo 4. This is one of my favourite games because of the great story the game has. The game carries on from Halo 3, where you play as Master Chief. The game starts off with Cortana waking you up from stasis. You will find out why as the story progresses. They have really improved the graphics of the game from other Halo games, as the lighting looks more realistic and the game looks more dull and gritty, making you feel more in the action as you throw enemies off edges or slicing them with your energy sword. They have added a lot of features to the game that are in Halo Reach, like assassinations and jetpacks. They have also made the enemies look more realistic in terms of moving behind cover, and the actual look of some of the enemies has changed slightly from other games. They have also added some new guns to the game, such as the assault carbine and the storm rifle, which can be obtained from killing enemies. There is a lot of new guns which you can find later on in the story mode. You can play a gripping single player story where you play alone and fight the enemies yourself, or you can play co-op where you can play with up to 4 other players online or local to help you fight the enemy throughout the campaign. There are other modes you can play, like the new Spartan Ups mode, where you play a 3 episodic cooperative series missions, or there's a traditional multiplayer with game modes like Slayer and Infection.
My first game is Strike Suit Zero. Strike Suit Zero is a space combat simulator game developed by the independent game studio Born Ready Games. The game starts slow until you get the Strike Suit ship, which is a prototype ship made by an alien that aids you on the journey called Control. The Strike Suit has 2 modes, normal ship mode and strike mode. In normal ship mode you can fly about using guns and missiles assigned at the start of the mission, but as you destroy enemies in space junk you accumulate flux. Flux allows you to change into strike mode and transforms the ship and the way you can control it. It has lock-on missiles that allows you to hit as many ships that you can lock onto whilst flux lasts, and when you run out of flux you fire all missiles and destroy as many ships at once. It also has a lock-on where you can focus onto a ship and fire your normal weapons, which when you destroy your ship, this will automatically turn onto your next target to destroy it. The game is short but the missions are hard and checkpoints not very frequent. If you die, you'll have to repeat the entire zone, and destroying a couple of cruisers can take its time. Overall, this game is a great space combat simulator and has several hours of great ship destroying action.
Anyone that enjoys a fun dungeon crawler would probably be familiar with the indie game Binding of Isaac. And I don't mean indie as in hipster, I'm talking about the developers that aren't restricted by the middleman's opinion. This game is about a small child called Isaac, a child with an overly religious mother who one day gets corrupted by her own devotion to God. First she is told to take away her son's possessions, then cut him off from the world, and then told to kill him. Isaac overhears her conversation with God through a gap in the wall and flees to a trapdoor under the rug. Although this game seems too religious for me, I enjoy the style of it being a dungeon crawler and its cartoony graphics.
The second game on my list is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. This game, which came out way back in November 11th, 2011, is still fun to come back to and go dragon killing. After a short ride in a carriage at the start of the game, you will find yourself at the player creation menu, which allows you to create your character that you will use in the game. You have the ability to choose a race and then a gender of that race to play as. Then you can change the features such as height, eye colour, hair and hair colour, etc. And you can also add scars and war paint to make your character look more unique. They have added some new things into the old Elder Scrolls games, things like you can dual wield weapons, so you can now run around with 2 swords or 2 staffs, which is really fun. I personally don't use the dual wielding that much. I tend to use a sword and magic combination myself. There are 3 DLCs to download and play, which are Dawnguard, Hearthfire and Dragonborn. Also, one of the main features in the game is after killing dragons, you will absorb their souls, as you are the Dragonborn. You can then use them to unlock shouts, which are the powers you possess.
Do you like first-person shooters? Do you like alien games? Do you like to be one man against the world? Then Crysis 2 is the game for you. The game takes place 3 years after the first game, and the Seth are winning the war. But at the same time, the organisation Cell are tracking you down because you have the nanosuit. There is an infection that is killing most humans. Prophet saves you from the Seth and gives you his suit because he is infected. And he asks you to find Gould, a scientist who is trying to cure the disease. Following Gould's instructions, you have to make your way through New York, killing Cell Marines and Seth creatures that get in your way. The nanosuit starts fusing with alien tissue, allowing us to upgrade the nanosuit and making a cure for the disease and giving us a way to destroy the Seth. The nanosuit allows us to go invisible, defend against hostile fire, and give us super speed and strength to reach further than any normal human could. Overall, Crysis 2 is one of the best first-person shooters of 2011.
Mortal Kombat has been a big fighting franchise since Ed Boon first made it for an arcade machine, and in 2009 NetherRealm Studios partnered with Warner Bros. To create Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe. The game starts off with a slow collision of 2 universes. First, the fighters are switched between their 2 universes, and then an effect called the Combat Rage influences them. Each universe sees the other universe as a threat, and they try to fight to the death. Later, the threat of Dark Khan, a fusion of both Darkseid and Shao Kahn, is revealed. The game features the same action-packed mechanics as the previous Mortal Kombat video games, like combos, arena utilizing attacks, and awesome fatalities. Some additions that they have made to the mechanics are falling attacks, wall attacks, grab attacks, and rage mode. Although I really like this game, the lack of gore due to the consideration of DC Universe fans makes this game less enjoyable than the previous Mortal Kombat games.
And the game I have chosen as top of my list is Minecraft. Minecraft is a sandbox indie game where you can do almost anything. You can choose to build, explore or destroy, it's entirely up to you. There are different modes to play when you first start the game on single player mode. The modes are Survival Mode, Creative Mode and Hardcore Mode. Survival Mode is the original game mode of Minecraft, making it so you have to survive the nights and days against mobs, whilst building a house and collecting resources such as food and diamonds. Creative Mode is the game mode where you can build and edit the map so much quicker than Survival Mode, as you start off with all the blocks and items that you can get inside your inventory. In Creative Mode you are able to fly, which makes building a lot easier as you can just fly up to the high places. You can also destroy blocks by just hitting them once with no tool needed, making it easy, for example flattening land or making a large cave. The multiplayer on Minecraft is very fun, as you can show off your creations to your friends and other players online, and it is great if you want to build things together that are quite big, but most people use the online to do survival with other people so they can work together to fight the mobs.
World of Warcraft is the biggest MMO game out for the last 8 years. This MMO lets us choose between 2 factions, and in each faction there are 6 races and 1 shared race. Each race can choose between 11 different classes. When you start the game, you are equipped with basic clothing and a weapon, and you have to complete missions and kill monsters in order to level up. There are 90 levels in the current Warcraft expansion. What happens when you reach level 90? Well, the game doesn't end there. Actually, it just begins. At level 90, you'll be able to do daily missions in order to get reputation. You can go to dungeons. In order to complete a dungeon, you'll need the help of other players though. The dungeon is made up of 5 players. In order to complete the dungeon, you'll need to kill bosses and other obstacles in your path. Once you have dominated the dungeons, you can move on to the real challenge in the game, raids. Raids are similar to dungeons but are made up of 10 players or 25 players. In a raid, bosses are a lot more complex and have unique mechanics in order to kill them. Every player has their role in the encounter, and the group will need to be well organised in order to overcome the encounter. Raids have 3 difficulties: Raid Finder mode, Normal mode and Heroic mode. In Raid Finder you'll go with 25 people that you don't know, and the bosses are very easy because of the lack of communication, but give off worse gear. In Normal mode you'll go with a group of 10 or 25 people. The difficulty is quite average and the gear is pretty good. In Heroic mode it's the same as normal, but the difficulty is very hard, and all the bosses gain abilities as well as extra health and damage. Some people don't like doing raids, so what else does Warcraft have to offer? Well, for those that like to use the character but don't like to do raids, there is PvP. PvP is where you fight against other players to see who is the best. There are different types of PvP modes like arenas, BGs and open world. In arenas you'll fight against another team. There are 2 vs 2, 3 vs 3 and 5 vs 5 groups. The rules are straightforward. The team that's still standing wins. You'll get given points for winning as well as a rating. BGs are similar to dungeons and raids. You'll go with a group of players but have to fight against another faction's team and have to follow the BG's rules in order to win. Some mechanics are like catching the flag or defend the base. Winning a BG will give you some points, and losing will still give you points but just not as much. Open world is, as its name indicates, killing other factions in open world. Other things to do in the game can be collecting mounts, pets and achievement points. Overall, World of Warcraft has a lot of content to play and can be played by all age and genders, with over 100 hours of gameplay.
My final game is the rather amusingly named Drop That Beat Like an Ugly Baby, which is an action indie game on early access on Steam for the low price of £6.99. It is made by the company Dejovan Games, who made Monsters Love You, Wonderful End of the World and Drunken Robot Pornography, which I assure you has nothing to do with the porn industry. Anyway, enough of that, let's talk about the game. Drop That Beat is a game that can use your own personal library of music to make your level, even if you're using music that you've created yourself. The aim of this game is to try and get as many tricks as you can done while the song is playing. These tricks are little more than being as close as possible to a surface without actually bashing it. The more intense songs have a particular effect, making the level more saturated, but that can make it easier for scoring points easily. The more fluid you do it, the better, as it racks up your multiplier to a maximum of ×5. The music that you can hear is called Latin Industries, and the link should be in the description below.
So we hope you all have enjoyed this video.
Like and subscribe to show some support, and also follow us on Facebook and Twitter via the links in the description below.
Also in the comments section, tell us what your top 3 games are.
This has been One Up Wolves.
Thanks for watching.